we'll stop you until they have been stopped. And when I say stop you, I mean whoever is in power that's going to try to make a disclosure. They will find you. And that's what this whole thing in the event was about. The very first episode had the guy playing President Obama. He was about to make an announcement. He was about to introduce us to these human extraterrestrials that have been here since the 40s, detained in this camp in Alaska. And right before he's going to make the announcement, there's this hijacked airliner that's going to try to fly right into him. And it vanishes into a portal right as it's about to hit him, and the government covers it up, and it lands basically where the Roswell crash was. They're making all sorts of illusions here. But the point is that they can effectively stop anybody from trying to make such an announcement. And once they have been stopped from being able to exert this kind of power, disclosure will follow very soon afterwards. So I do think it's going to happen. I think we have not seen the end of this story at all. And there is going to be a rough period. I do expect that there's going to be some short-term difficulties. That's why I do encourage people to take some precautions. Just buy some rice and beans, for example, some superfood like some spirulina. You don't have to spend a lot of money. But I do recommend having some staple foods on hand, some cooking oil, some spices, sugar, salt, some of the basic things that you might want. Just in case there is a disruption. I don't really think the disruption, if it did happen, would last anywhere near as long as they're telling their own insiders it might last. Because honestly, that's why I wrote part 2 of my China's October Surprise article, where I talked about the management, as I call it. And some people don't like that term, and they say, oh, well, shouldn't they be called the benevolent angelic protectors of humanity, whatever, da-da-da. Well, the reason why I choose the term management is a lot of people have a misconstrued notion about what management's role really is. They think that these ETs, if they existed at all, would stop anything negative from happening, that people shouldn't have to suffer. There shouldn't, we even had somebody writing comments into the blog saying, well, if management is out there, then they got to stop TSA, because if I go through the airport security, they're going to grope me. That's not management's job. Management's job is to make sure that the planet itself doesn't tip over into Armageddon and apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the BP oil spill didn't turn into something worse than it was. Now, granted, there are health problems and there are massive environmental problems that were caused by that, but it did not kill the planet. Just like the swine flu vaccine. People go, oh my God, they want to kill everybody. Baxter Pharmaceuticals and da-da-da-da-da, and they're going to put this thing in there and they're going to force you to take the shot, and if you don't take the shot, you're going to be quarantined in a FEMA camp, and oh my God, it's so horrible. And that was like everybody was talking about it. When the BP oil spill was going on, everybody was, there were so many articles online, and I'm sure you remember this, where they're saying there's no way to plug it. We're never going to be able to stop the leak. It's going to go into all the oceans in the world. Everybody's going to die in 6 months. We're done. We're over. We're finished. Same thing with the swine flu vaccine. Oh my God, they're going to force you to take the shot. And when you take the shot, you're going to die. You're going to get this flu, and it's going to make you sick, and you're going to start coughing and puking, and the next thing you know, you're dead. None of these things ever happen. They keep saying, oh, my God, we're going to try to collapse the economy. We're going to destroy the economy. Well, there's never been an economic collapse that affects the whole world. So management's job is to basically keep the planet in balance so that, and I said this in part 2, if you want to seek the positive, you can. And if you want to seek the negative, you can. And there's equal opportunity to seek in either direction. So if you want to go around you and look for the death and look for the doom and gloom and look for the paranoia and the fear, you will continue to find real things that are hurting real people, like the TSA groping your groin when you go through security. I was actually wondering if I would get selected. I was not going to do the scanner. I would have taken the groping, and then I would have had a story that I could have told my audience about them grabbing my balls in TSA or something, but it never happened. But the management's job is not to stop TSA. These kind of things, it sucks. It sucks to be wand raped or to have somebody grab your crotch when you go through airport security. But the reason why we're here is for spiritual evolution. And there are forces that understand that the best way that we crack the shell that we built around our hearts is sometimes through unpredictable upheavals and violation of human rights. So some of these negative forces are allowed to do what they do up to the level that they've been invited. And that's the part that everybody has to look at. The invitation is caused by people focusing on the negative in their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually are shaming the people you know, if you're humiliating them, if you are nitpicking all the things that they do and criticizing all the things that they do and finding ways to get them entrapped and then holding them and grilling them and being like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? You need to be more of this. You need to be more of that. All these kinds of behaviors, all these things that we do to control people, to manipulate people, to try to get our will met, that is literally casting a vote for there to be a shadowy group that has power in the world that represents the mirror of what you're doing.
Sure.
People want
Absolutely.
to, there's probably no area of torment that anybody experiences more of than in a romantic relationship. And from what I'm hearing, people's relationships are as difficult as they've ever been. I hear lots of stories from people I know of there's a lot of relationships breaking up. I mean, even in the media, you have Jenny McCarthy, who was with Jim Carrey, and she was with some other guy, and she just broke up with him and said that he couldn't handle her fame. And then, of course, you have the reality TV icon Kim Kardashian, who was with this guy for like 1 week, and she just dumped him, and now she's got another guy. So these are like visible outward signs, and then there's all these other signs that I'm hearing from private stories of people that are going through a lot of turmoil, and the economy is really hurting a lot of people, and economics is a major source of relationships, decaying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's really simple. If you want to vote for the New World Order becoming the Old World Order, if you want to vote for the powers that be becoming the powers that were, just be nice. Be nice to your partner. Be willing to listen. Don't try to enforce your will. Be willing to hear the other side of things. Don't be out there expecting that everybody's got to do what you want, and that if you have an emotional problem, that it's everybody else's problem. These are the kinds of things that we're doing that we feel so justified. We say, these are my needs. I need this. I need that. Well, think about the fact that even if you feel that somebody else is totally in the wrong and they're being petty and they're being ridiculous, if they have feelings and if you're hurting those feelings, you're actually infringing on their free will. You're actually creating a negative karma for yourself. So, on the other hand, it's also very important to point out that if someone is legitimately infringing on your free will, you also have the obligation to yourself to take care of yourself and not let yourself be railroaded. So where the fine line of discernment comes in is saying to yourself, okay, is this person actually doing something that's a genuine infringement on my free will, or are we just experiencing a difference of opinion, and is my opinion something that I'm trying to enforce even though it's not necessarily the only way that things need to go? So the fine line is like, okay, do I really need to be going after somebody about this, or am I just doing it because I don't feel comfortable, and I'd feel more comfortable if things were different or if I was getting my way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where a lot of this stuff comes back to. Another thing that I pointed out in my blog, and I want to say again here briefly, I had an unprecedented amount of nasty letters come in when I made this online video conference accessible to people for $77. And they just thought that I was like making gobs of money and that I have some mansion in Beverly Hills. And the reality is that if I have financing, that's good for the planet, obviously. And it's not appropriate for people out there to expect that guys like you, Tom, or guys like me are just going to do everything, and we're not going to write a book, or we're not going to have a video, or we're not going to have products that represent premium quality content that we're generating that people pay for. Because basically, if somebody comes to me and says, I want you to give me all of your stuff for free, that's a person coming with a handgun and saying they want to enslave me.
Mm-hmm.
They want me to work for them without being paid. And I'm sorry, but you can't keep the lights on and blog all day and eat the air. You have to eat something. You have to pay for the electrical to be able to run the laptop. And the more that you start to do things like conferences, you have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to rent the venue. The online events require, as we now are finding out, very substantial infrastructure. It's going to cost us a lot of money per month just to run it, but it will allow us to do video conferences. The one that we did was a failure in the sense that we only got a 4 frames per second video. You can watch it, but you got to basically look at my eyes and not at my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The content is great. I mean, you can listen to it, and it's wonderful, or you can watch it and just kind of not focus on my mouth too much, and it's fine. But we had a problem, and so now we have to fix the problem. So I'm actually hiring people from History Channel to do the shoot for me. In fact, the call waiting that we got earlier was that guy calling me back. So the point is, I don't sit here and collect everybody's money and spend it on myself. I have one car. I have one place to live. I'm not out there going crazy, taking weird vacations and blowing it all on myself. And it's very insulting when people write this stuff in and say that they expect that I should give them everything for free. So we're not going to be publishing most of those letters anymore because it's just not productive. And there's enough people who are telling me, David, we absolutely support you and we want you to be able to not live in poverty. You shouldn't be in a state of despair while you're doing this work.
Well, let me just butt in here, Dave,
Sure,
because we've known each other, 2-3 years, and for as long as I've known you, I mean, you have given away so much. I mean, your website is full of free stuff, and kudos for you for charging a mere $77 for the kind of information that you're giving out. To me, it'd be worth thousands of dollars. So,
well, yeah. I mean, thank you so much for saying that. And let's be clear that the Access Your Higher Self, I don't hold anything back. It is a 100% complete teaching. Here's what you need to do if you want to be able to read tarot cards. Here's what you need to do if you want to be able to actually remember your dreams, and not only remember them, but then figure out what they mean. Here's what you need to do if you want to be able to do readings. And no one, except we had one person out of everybody who saw that show, only one person complained. And the complaint made it obvious that they didn't pay attention, because the things they complained about were answered in the video. This is not generic. This is not just, oh yeah, you ought to read tarot cards, oh, you ought to try to remember your dreams, and oh, you ought to try to listen to the voice inside your head and you'll get readings. This is systematic, comprehensive, detailed instruction, a lot of which is pulled from highly classified secret training programs that allow people to become very psychic that I've heard about, that I'm disclosing. And that's part of why I'm making people pay for it, is I don't want to put this out publicly because of the trouble I could get in.
Yeah.
So this is the pure distilled gold. It's like everything that I could give you on how to be able to do what I do, which I didn't even feel comfortable giving people before. I didn't want to create a legion of people out there saying that they're channeling unless they're going to do it right. But now I'm saying, look, the times that we're in, I want as many people as possible to be able to access their higher self. Granted, a lot of the technique is available in my website. If you read through the articles, especially if you go back to some of the older stuff, you will find a lot of the things that I talk about in this video. But then people are like flaming pissed off and saying, well, if you're going to teach us how to access our higher selves, but you're only going to do it if it costs me money, then